Did Jesus really rise from the dead? Here's Luke's account of the resurrection, the idea that 3 days after Jesus was crucified by the Romans, he physically rose from the dead. This extraordinary belief was absolutely central to the Christian message from the beginning and was why all the Christians were convinced that Jesus was alive and could forgive their sins. In fact, they were so persuaded of this claim that a large number of them were prepared to die. So what persuaded them? Christian accounts of the resurrection have two lines of evidence which come together. First, the empty tomb. No one ever found the body. Secondly, people meeting Jesus. You might be able to explain the empty tomb by grave robbers, but that doesn't explain how so many people claim to have seen Jesus. One early account even says that 500 people saw Jesus at one time. People have tried to come up with all sorts of alternative explanations. For instance, they might say that Jesus was crucified by the Romans, but he somehow survived. But then we know the Romans were good executioners and no one could survive an execution like that and then look impressive to his followers a few days later. Maybe people visited the wrong tomb and found it empty, but that sort of mistake would be quickly found out. Maybe Jesus had an identical twin that no one knew. People can be very creative. But none of those alternative explanations works. Besides, it's not that Jesus' followers just saw someone like a ghost on a dark night, or that people had an impression of a presence like might happen to someone who's been bereaved. Luke records that people ate with him and had conversations with him. Indoors, outdoors, standing, sitting, walking. But Luke has a really interesting thing to say on page 162. This is what it says. They were startled and frightened, thinking that they saw a ghost. He said to them, "Why are you troubled, and why do doubts arise in your minds? Look at my hands and my feet. It's I myself. Touch and see. A ghost does not have flesh and bones, as you see I have." It says that when he appeared to his followers on the Sunday evening of his resurrection, their first reaction was to think that he was a ghost, and that he then invited them to see that he was real and touch his hands and feet. The disciples couldn't have invented the resurrection because they were Jews, and Jews believed that the resurrection happened to all people, or maybe all of God's people at the end of time, not to one person out of sequence with the rest. So if they saw a lookalike Jesus after he had been crucified, their reaction would be to think it was a ghost, not someone bodily raised. So the empty tomb, the many people who claimed to have seen Jesus and met with him after his death, and the fact that the resurrection wouldn't have fitted with their expectations together make a strong case that something really remarkable happened that first Sunday morning, all those years ago.